What's going on, everybody? Good morning, good evening, wherever you are, and whatever time it is, and welcome back to yet another video with your man, Immersionholic. And ladies and gentlemen, welcome to yet another online battle for the Divided to Para Overhaul mod for Total War Rome 2. That's right, ladies and gentlemen, we are getting the online battles back up and running. It's been 5, almost 6 months since I've recorded an online battle. It's been a long time. And so I'm really excited to be getting back into the online battle series for you all. You'll all also be seeing multiple other videos coming up in the following days and weeks and whatnot, so there will be many more online battles coming. But if you have a interesting or just an overall fun battle replay from the 1.3.2 era of the patch for DEI, please feel free to send it on in to me. I am very much looking for replays for that patch. I have a lot of replays that have sent to me, so I appreciate all of those. But quite a lot of them are out of date now, and as such are a bit of a pain to try and get to cooperate and work. But anyway, everybody, this is a online replay sent in from my man Kalogero. Coming back into the online scene, he is playing against Geo. Geo, the notorious of the DEI online battles community. Geo is playing the Lusitani, which we can see over here, kinda. We'll see the rest of their army in a second. And Geo is playing as Carthage. Now, this is one of the first online videos at all I've recorded in almost 4 or 5 months. It's been quite a long time, so if I do sort of screw up a little bit, for example, taking a very long time to get the battle started, please do bear with me. And my camera work may not be as on point as it used to be, although to be honest, it was never all that great anyway. So bear with me, ladies and gentlemen. We're getting back into the groove of things, and I hope you all have been enjoying the other videos that also should be accompanying this video around this time anyway. But anyway, let's get started by looking at the battle composition of the Carthaginian army, and then when we can see it, we'll check out the Lusitani. Timestamps in the description down below and on the video, so please do check out those if you wish. Alright everyone, let's check out the Carthaginian army, and let's start at the far left hand side, as we always try to do for the army, which actually is not here, it's all the way over here. Technically, this is their most left-hand unit up here on the northern side of the battlefield, I guess. A mercenary Numidian cavalry unit. It's going to be a very interesting matchup. 2 amazing DEI players and 2 very sort of rival-ish factions. The Lusitani representing the best that Iberia has to offer, in my opinion. And the Carthaginians coming in with their very diverse roster, an excellent roster overall. And this is one of the reasons why. They have guerrilla deployed Numidian cav available, and this is also using the large battlefield, someone might add, so that's why the battlefield is so big. But anyway, getting to the front line of the Carthaginian army, on the far left hand side we have the Libby Phoenician Furios infantry just over here, so a bit of a low tier Furios swordsman almost. We didn't have Libby Phoenician Furios spears. And it's important to know that these are 300 man units as well, although they only have 1 javelin each. But so we got the Furio sword on the far left hand side, then we've got 1 spearman right here, another Libby Phoenician spear here, then a 3rd right there, and then on the far right hand side, what do you know, another Libby Phoenician sword unit, aka infantry. Whenever it says infantry, it usually just means sword of some sort. And then behind them in the second line right here, we have 2 sets of very cheap Libyan pelters. Interesting little pick here, quite cheap, but they're actually relatively useful, and their attack and defense stats are not all that bad considering they are a skirmisher unit, so we'll have to see how they go in the battle. Moving on to the 3rd line, we've got quite a few lines of troops right here. Checking out this line right now, we have Libyan Furios infantry. Now these bad boys are quite interesting, because if let's compare the stats to the front line just briefly. Stat wise, they're floating a little bit below, like they have half the armor that the front line does. However, these Libyan Furious infantry have 3 javelins, and it's not even a skirmisher unit, it's just a melee infantry sword unit. So he has a full line of these bad boys, very cheeky, I quite like it. It's a bit of a discreet play, showcasing the Kalogero is really trying to utilize his javelins here. His entire front line has javelins, at least just one set, and then he has 2 peltas units here. So it's gonna be interesting. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 Libyan Furios infantry. Then behind them we have some very nice mercenary Iberian cavalry, traitors to the Lusitani. Amazing cav unit, but it is more shock based, although it can still hold its own in melee if needed. It's just missing that really big shield. It only has a small little Iberian style shield. Look at those textures, I'm like, whoosh. Looking delicious. The general is an infantry unit though. It's a Carthaginian Sacred Band, late variant. You all know the Sacred Band, so interesting unit to bring in, see how well they do. They then have a very cheap mercenary Iberian sword unit in the rear over here. And then on his right hand flank, mercenary African levies. And then another set of African levies who do have javelins, including the Iberian sword, so that's helpful. Every unit he has, except his general and cavalry, has javelins to some degree, so he's obviously going to be trying to utilize that against the extremely scary infantry that the Lusitani have to bear. Now let's go ahead and press play just for a few moments, and then I'll pause it again and show off the Lusitani army to you in a second. Alright everybody, we can now see the Lusitani army, at least the majority of it. I believe we can see about 17 units, so that's 3 that are unaccounted for. Geo and the majority of DEI players always bring a 20 stack when they can. So on the far left hand flank he has an interesting pick of skirmisher cavalry, although this is not surprising considering this is Geo. I know he likes his skirmisher cav and they are very, very useful when in the right hands. Lusitani light missile cavalry, 120 men per unit. Going to be very tricky for Kalogero to combat these. Moving in, he is supporting them with a Lusitani noble veteran. I mean, not a noble veteran, just a noble spearman unit, sorry. His entire front line over here is consisting of Lusitani veteran spearmen, so that's 5 of them, 300 men for an overall excellent spear unit, and it does have a single javelin per unit. Then his second line is full of Lusitani armored spearmen. So these guys are a little bit more aggressive, higher attack at 12, which is very, very nice considering it's just a spear unit. Armor of 35, they're basically like a legionnaire with spears. That's going to be tough, very, very hard to crack. And then their general is a Lusitani noble spearman unit up here. And behind him we have the real killers of the Lusitani, the thing that gives Carthaginians nightmares, the bear warriors. Let's get a close-up of them really quickly. While we do that, we'll go ahead and press play, but these bear warriors are terrifying. They are some of the best shock infantry in the game, and I hope we get to see why in this online battle, but they are just disgusting. So overall, just judging based off the rosters that we're seeing straight away, I gotta give favor slightly to the Lusitani just because all of their units are really good at killing. Even the spearmen have good attack, they have amazing defense, pretty solid armor. Kalogero is really good after utilize his javelins to get in some damage before his men start taking hits. Because in one-on-one engagements, the majority of his infantry will lose their fights in my opinion. Like his front line, they all have a melee defense of 14, whereas the others is 18, I believe. 18 and an armor of 20, although the armor over here is at 30. And 30, yeah. Although the spearmen do have a defense of 17. But just, yeah, I would say pound for pound, the Lusitania army is stronger. Carthaginians, on the other hand, very versatile. They have a lot of cavalry, so Kalogero's gonna have to defeat these the skirmisher cavalry, which is gonna be very difficult to do. He doesn't have any skirmishers besides those 2 little peltas units. Oh wait, doesn't he have some in the rear? Sorry, no, they're just spearmen. So yeah, I don't know how he's gonna pull this off. I'm favoring Geo here, at least in army composition. But they're both excellent players. It's going to be interesting to see who can get what done. Let's skip ahead until we have some action going on. Alright everybody, here we go. The armies are clashing. The Lusitani army kind of gets caught out of position here a little bit. With their spacing, they're two main lines do get caught out. Oh, we finally see the extra 3 units. They have Lusitani ambushes, which are javelin men. Not really great in melee at all, but I mean 3 skirmishes could be very, very helpful to the Lusitani. So that's their entire army. But we begin with javelin throwing, of course. The main line of the Carthaginians did get the first volley off, but they are now taking a pounding from the Lusitani. However, the 2 lines of the Lusitani seem to both be firing at the single front line of the Carthaginians. Kalogero is spacing his lines out nicely to ensure minimal damage. But, I mean, they did take a lot of hit point damage, I'm sure. Lusitani are right on top of each other. They're not in formation, so they don't have to necessarily be too neat. He's trying to fight at an angle as well. Look at how he's positioning his spearmen. Interesting take here. The cavalry of the Carthaginians are coming forward. Interesting play by Kalogero. Not the first time we've seen it here in these online battles that he sent us. Disrupting the Lusitani formation. Meanwhile, Carthaginians charge forward right behind to back up their cavalry. Not sure if it's going to be enough. Look at this over here in the center. Carthaginian cavalry is going to get hammered by those javelins. And they charged against 3 sets of spearmen. Very risky play. I'm not sure if it'll be what he's looking for, but he's at least trying something unique. Gathers all of his cavalry and starts marshalling it around the left-hand side. His Numidian cavalry seem to be coming around towards the rear. Meanwhile, Lusitani cavalry moving around to the right-hand flank of the Carthaginians, but they are staying at a distance for now. The main line of both armies is in a massive slugfest. The Lusitani skirmishers are coming in heavy, very helpful, attacking those blobs of Carthaginians. Might be some friendly fire in there, but friendly fire is typically pretty minimal from units like that. We'll have to look at that at the end of the battle. Lusitani are threatening the right-hand flank of the Carthaginians over here, but they're not committing to it. Carthaginians do need to hold some spearmen in reserve. Meanwhile, right-hand flank of the Lusitani is also being threatened, so we got an interesting little mix, which is quite common in online battles, where one side goes the other way while the other goes the other to outflank. It's all about a race of who can hold off their own flank while smashing the other one. Carthaginians getting aggressive over here. Very nice charge, but they are charging spearmen, so they can't stay in the fight for long. These spearmen are getting charged by excellent shock cavalry. Looks like the Carthaginians are bringing up infantry to support. The Numidian cav is finally getting involved, hitting the bear warriors. Very nice target to go for. However, they're not charging in. They're holding their position and just using their skirmishers and javelins, I should say, to hit the bear warriors. They're not going to get many kills very quickly, but the Numidian cav will stay safe. However, Lusitani skirmishers are responding. Interesting call there. I might have gone for the charge instead, but I mean, you never know. Meanwhile, Carthaginian main battle line on the right-hand side over here is faulting. It's not doing too well. Lusitani cavalry is coming around the right-hand side of the Carthaginians. They don't really have all that much to stop them, although they are quite intimidated and not coming in too closely. Meanwhile, the left-hand flank of the Carthaginians is going okay. However, they are fighting the general, who is isolated. Looks like the Numidian cavalry is coming for him. He's getting pursued by the Libyan infantry. Meanwhile, there's more Carthaginian cav here. The general needs to die quickly. Oh, there comes a nice charge, although it is only by skirmisher cav. Kalogero needs to capitalize on the general being isolated. Meanwhile, right-hand flank of the Carthaginians is getting hammered. They just got a very nice kill on the Carthaginian cavalry unit, I believe. Where is it? We can't see it. Yep, there it is. Carthaginian right-hand flank is collapsing. The Lusitani cavalry coming in, getting involved in melee engagements. Meanwhile, the Carthaginian infantry are getting hammered by multiple units. Bear warriors are now coming in as well. That is scary. They've also committed to the center and the right-hand side of the Lusitani. Bear Warriors are in the mix. They just didn't get the great charges that would help them. But they are getting involved in the fighting, as we can see. They are pushing forward as the Carthaginians retreat. Here comes the javelins, though. It's almost as if the Carthaginians have been saving their javelins back here. They're nailing the Bear Warriors. Oh, here comes that focus fire. But the right-hand flank of the Carthaginians is still being surrounded. They're still getting overwhelmed. Their general is over here getting involved. He's going to be isolated as well, but he's a very tough unit. Oh, here comes a nice charge. The Median Cav smashing into the Lusitani ambushes. Very nice charge. Woo. They will survive, it seems, but they should have took some serious damage there. Lusitani general manages to escape from that encirclement from earlier. Meanwhile, Carthaginian cavalry is getting tied up over here. They did take out a skirmisher unit, but I mean, it's not ideal. They need to be focused on the heavier units of the Lusitani. It's a shame they couldn't get their general. Looks like the Lusitani are going to be pushing forward aggressively. They do have a massive gap right here that needs to be exploited. They need to start pushing forward. Gio's going to start issuing his commands. However, he's got a lot to micromanage. Cavalry is in the distance, chasing down routing Carthaginians, coming in to put in the nail in the coffin for some of the already wavering Libyan units. Boom. Very nice maneuvering by Gio. Excellent work. Now the center right of the Carthaginians is collapsing almost entirely. That whole area is full of wavering Carthaginians. It seems as if defeat for the Carthaginians is on its way. Unless they can get very lucky, perhaps take out the Lusitani general, but this is a tough unit to kill. Very, very tough. However, both sides don't have any formation abilities, I believe, so Kalogero just needs to get his cavalry involved. It's a little too late over there. He is rotating another unit around, but oh, here comes a Warcry ability from the Carthaginian onto the Lusitani units. It's going to intimidate them. Not going to be enough, but might end up getting some more kills his way. Lusitani general is getting surrounded. This is a big play, but there's still so many men left in that personal bodyguard. I sincerely doubt the general's going to get killed from it. Meanwhile, the Carthaginian general, where is he? He's over here getting surrounded. He's starting to not be as confident. Carthaginian units in the front line are routing. The Lusitani, surely they have this wrapped up. The main line of the Carthaginians just couldn't hold for long enough. The cavalry just wasn't fast enough to get that advantage and utilize it. The general of the Lusitani doing excellent here. Almost 200 kills for the Lusitani general. 199. Can he get his 200th? Perhaps, but yeah. It's GG's. It's over. The Lusitani, they've enveloped the right-hand flank of the Carthaginian army. Look at all the bodies out here. You can see out here where they were connecting. And it's just too much. The Carthaginians flee from the battlefield quite heavily. The cavalry is still here. I'll be interested to see how many kills they got. 220 for this unit. That's really nice, but not enough. Lusitani noble spearmen will cut them down quite quickly. It's too little too late, unfortunately. That cavalry charge early on from the Carthaginians, I like it, it's creative, but it's just not good enough. Especially against a faction like the Lusitani that is so spear heavy, that is so excellent at being mobile while countering enemy charges. It's just not going to work. I don't see any situation where a charge like that's going to work against the Lusitani. It's very, very difficult to do. Props to both players though. They both chose really interesting armies, fun factions. Factions we see quite often in online battles, actually. It's really good to see them being utilized by some amazing players, but the roster of Gio, I think, was superior, and at least his roster choice, I should say, his army pick. He did really well in knowing what the strengths are of the Lusitani. Geo was really creative in trying to utilize his javelins and cavalry, but it just wasn't enough. And to be honest, playing as Carthage against the Lusitani, it's gonna be quite scary in my opinion. Costly enemy victory. The Lusitani take the W. Congratulations to GOD, the Great, coming in with another win. Props to Kalogero. He did really well to try and pull off a creative strategy, but it just wasn't good enough. Let's very quickly check out the statistics screen, and then we'll end it after that. Here we are at the statistics screen. Again, congratulations to both players for a really fun battle to watch. Kalogero, again, playing as Carthage GOD, playing as a Lusitani. And I think the statistics of the armies actually does tell the story of the online battle really well here. Sometimes it's not really so obvious just by looking at the stats. But here, I think it demonstrates it quite well, especially when you look at the mainline units of each faction. The Carthaginians, the spearmen, and swordsmen. There's a few standout units that did really well, but the majority of them getting under 100 kills. That's nowhere near good enough when comparing them to the Lusitani spearmen main line. Almost all of them got over 100. There's 2 that didn't, and one of them got smashed. The other one was close to 100. Half of them got almost 200 or more. It's really the kind of kills you're looking for from the Lusitani. They had their general get involved. They also had another veteran spearman unit, 325 kills, and their cavalry got some amazing kills. Granted, a lot of these kills would be from killing routing units, but that is still very crucial, because it means the Carthaginians are not going to come back from their routes. The javelinmen of the Lusitani did quite well as well. I don't think they were too crucial to the battle, but they were definitely not useless. They were quite useful. The bear warriors did not get the kills I would expect, but they also didn't need to. They barely got involved in the battle. It was more towards the last sort of quarter of the battle they got involved, and by then the main line of the Carthaginians was chomped down. I think they would have got a lot more kills though if they got that charge, and they didn't recharge their allies. I mean, there isn't any friendly fire from that, so that's fine, but the kill count would have went up for the bear warriors. They might have had a bit more impact if there was gaps in the line. But besides that, that's really the only failing, if you could even call it that. It was overall fantastic play. GOD just utilized his army really well. The spears are strong with the Lusitani. The Carthaginian roster, the cavalry actually did relatively well, considering one of them got annihilated, which is a really big waste of a lot of money. So that's a bit of a shame, but I mean, you're going to have that in battles. Their mercenary sword unit actually did quite well, which is interesting despite their low armor. But yeah, the rest of their main line just wasn't consistent enough. Their skirmishes helped, but not enough. And their little militia style units were not helpful enough either. So the differences there are very obvious. Let's look at the kills and losses. So the Lusitani lost 25-22. The Carthaginians only killed 24-83. Yeah, not a big deal at all. I was wondering just how the javelins of the Lusitani would be, but anyway, again, mad props to both gentlemen. Thank you, Kalogero, for the initiative and sending me the online replay. Thank you all so much for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed, and I shall see you in the next one.